In the chronicles of history, two names rise above all others when the subject is wealth. Two kings, separated by oceans and centuries, yet bound by one thing: gold. One was said to be so rich that a single journey of his destroyed the value of gold in an empire. The other, it is written, received tons of gold every year, building a temple where even the floors and walls gleamed with it. They were men whose riches defied calculation: Mansa Musa of Mali and King Solomon of Israel. Their stories have been told for generations, but one question still burns across time: who was the richest king to ever walk the earth? Mansa Musa, the Lion of Mali. In the early 14th century, the throne of Mali fell into the hands of a man whose name still echoes through time: Mansa Musa, Musa Keita I. He was not just a ruler. He was a legend of gold. The empire he inherited stretched across West Africa, rich with rivers, fertile lands, and above all, the world's largest reserves of gold. Under his reign, Mali controlled nearly half of the known world's gold supply, a resource that made his kingdom shine brighter than any empire of its age. Mansa Musa's fortune was beyond calculation. Traders from the Sahara carried salt, ivory, and slaves, but all of it was overshadowed by gold. In Timbuktu, the city that would rise under his patronage, gold dust floated in the air as if it were common sand. His subjects prospered, his merchants grew wealthy, and in Musa's treasuries lay a fortune that modern historians agree would make him the richest man in human history. But Musa was not a king who sat idle on his riches. In the year 1324, as a devout Muslim, he answered the call of faith and embarked on the sacred pilgrimage to Mecca. This journey would not only reveal his wealth to the world, but would reshape the economies of nations. His caravan was like no other. 60,000 men marched under his banner, a small nation moving across the desert. Among them were 12,000 slaves, each carrying gold bars weighing 4 pounds apiece. Alongside them trudged 80 camels, each bending under the weight of sacks filled with over 300 pounds of gold dust. The desert winds carried whispers of this procession, a river of wealth stretching for miles, a sight that defied imagination. When Musa entered Cairo, Egypt, his generosity became both his glory and his curse. He gave gold to the poor, to merchants, to officials, and to rulers. He spent lavishly on goods, rewarding all who served him and buying all that pleased him. So much gold poured into Egypt that its value collapsed. Inflation gripped the land, and for more than 10 years, the economy staggered under the shock. It was one of the rarest events in history. A single man, through generosity alone, altered the value of an entire economy. But Musa's story was not just about spending. His pilgrimage placed Mali on the world map. In Europe, cartographers sketched his likeness on their charts, painting him as a golden king, seated upon a throne, holding a nugget of gold that symbolized the vast wealth of Africa. In the Middle East, tales of his riches spread like fire. When Musa returned, he did not hoard his wealth. He built with it. In Timbuktu, he raised the great Djinguereber Mosque, a masterpiece of mud and stone that still stands today. He turned his capital into a beacon of learning, commissioning libraries, universities, and schools that drew scholars from across Africa and beyond. His gold did not merely buy luxury. It built culture, faith, and knowledge. Mansa Musa's reign ended in 1337, but his legacy endured. He is remembered not just as the richest man who ever lived, but as a king whose fortune could bend the course of nations. His name has become synonymous with unimaginable wealth, wealth so great it glitters still in the memory of history. King Solomon, the wisest king of Israel. It was said that everything he built was with gold. Merely 2,000 years before Mansa Musa, another king ruled in splendor, Solomon, son of David, the third king of Israel. His reign, beginning around 970 BC, is remembered as a golden age of peace, prosperity, and wisdom. But among all his gifts, none shone brighter than the treasure that poured endlessly into his kingdom. Every year, Solomon received tributes from kings and merchants alike. The scriptures record that his annual intake was 25 tons of pure gold, not counting the silver, ivory, spices, and gems that accompanied it. The wealth of nations flowed into Jerusalem, filling his treasuries until silver was considered worthless, as common as stones scattered on the ground. Solomon's palace was a marvel, but greater still was the temple of the Lord that he built in Jerusalem. Constructed from the finest cedar wood, it was then overlaid with pure gold from floor to ceiling. The altar shone with gold. The inner sanctuary blazed with it, and its doors gleamed like the morning sun. It was not just a house of worship. It was a statement that the wealth of Solomon's reign was not his alone, but consecrated to the glory of God. His fame spread far beyond Israel. From across deserts and seas came the Queen of Sheba, bringing with her caravans of spices, precious stones, and gold. She sought to test Solomon with riddles, but upon witnessing his wisdom and the splendor of his court, she was left in awe. The Queen of Sheba tested Solomon with hard questions. He answers all her questions with unmatched wisdom. She was shocked, declared that his wisdom and wealth exceeded all she had heard. Her tribute only added to his overflowing wealth, confirming that his greatness surpassed every rumor. Solomon's prosperity was not only in gold. He commanded fleets that sailed distant seas, returning with rare goods. He secured trade routes that funneled riches into his kingdom. And above all, he was revered for the wisdom granted him by God, a wisdom that made kings seek his counsel as much as his riches. At the height of his reign, Solomon was unmatched in both wealth and wisdom. His kingdom stood as a beacon of prosperity in the ancient world, his name forever tied to splendor and treasure. When he passed, he left a legacy so vast that his wealth became legend. His reign remembered as the pinnacle of Israel's golden age. 2 kings, 2 empires, 2 legacies of gold. Mansa Musa, whose fortune was so vast it collapsed economies, whose pilgrimage redrew maps, and whose wealth built mosques and universities that still stand centuries later. Solomon, who received 25 tons of gold every year, who built a temple where the very walls and floors were plated with gold, and whose wisdom made him as great as his riches. Which king was truly richer? Was it Solomon, with endless rivers of tribute flowing into Jerusalem each year, and a temple of gold that stood as a wonder of the world? Or was it Musa, whose single journey carried more gold than nations could dream of, and whose generosity could topple an economy?
Mansa Musa entered Cairo with so much gold that he left an entire kingdom struggling with inflation.
But Solomon's tribute alone was 25 tons of gold every single year, enough to cover his temple from floor to ceiling.
Mansa Musa built mosques of knowledge and faith with his gold.
Solomon built a temple drenched in gold, said to be touched by the hand of God. So we ask, who was truly the greatest king of gold? Was Solomon's wealth divine, or Musa's fortune unmatched? Whose riches echo louder in history? The wisest king or the richest king?